Hello, friends and beautiful people. It's Kathryn Conscious Creatrix, Elevated Consciousness Coach, 5D Visionary. Hello, and welcome to this week's weekly energy check-in for September 22nd, 2019. How is everybody doing after our major timeline split? Maybe some of you are feeling the aftermath, the hangover of this major timeline split between 3D and 5D energies. Maybe it feels like you are experiencing an intensifying of things that you've been working on, trying to clear, trying to release. Or on the other side, depending on the choices and the high level of awareness you've used to make better and higher decisions for yourself, if you've opted into the 5D timeline way of being, you are seeing an intense potency, kind of a reminder of just how powerful of a creator that you are in the manifestations, your creations that you are directing in 3D reality using a 5D level of consciousness. You're probably seeing so many wonderful things play out in your reality that you didn't think were possible. So if you happen to be still making decisions in alignment with the lower self, the 3D limited possibility self, where you kind of see this ceiling for yourself, you see very limited possibility for your life going forward, you don't feel like the creator of your experience, you don't feel like the master of your reality, and you keep finding evidence that proves that or validates that to you over and over again, guess what? You are opting in for a victim mentality. And when you are in a victim mentality, you tend to think of things happening outside of you, happening to you, not for you, not for the betterment of, being able to see a way to make better choices, see opportunities to make better and higher choices for yourself. Instead, you just feel like a victim of random events that are kind of thrown at you that you have to react to. So I want to get into that for this week's message, because all of the messages, the downloads that I have been getting are really about putting tools out there, putting opportunities for you to learn yourself out of this victim consciousness, because this is what is really keeping us tethered to 3D mentality, 3D consciousness in a very lower and limited way of seeing our lives, of seeing any kind of possibilities going forward. It's tethering our imagination to what has been rather than what could be. This needs to shift, and I'm constantly being told by all my guides through all the energy that I channel that we have to opt out of victim consciousness. We have to as a collective. Because those of us that are choosing to stay in that victim mentality, it is informing the collective on a level where it's harder for us to make that shift, that timeline jump rather, into a 5D way of being, which is all about unity consciousness. It's all very heart-centric. It's about finding and aligning with your highest and best timeline, literally the highest and best expression of you, the most ideal version of you. It's right there. It's so close that you can touch it. But until we completely learn how to opt out of victim consciousness and find ways where we keep kind of going back to it on an unconscious level, this kind of victim mentality, when we can get awake and aware to when we are doing that, how we are doing that, why we are doing that, that's really the major key for us opting out of this way of being, because we can just kind of shift our mentality and our focus and our attention. And being in 5D consciousness is about awareness. It's about being awake to these self-limiting, self-negating behaviors that we've been doing over our lifetimes. I'm going to get into this in just a second, but I want to remind all of you that we are really in such a sweet spot at this time of our human evolution. Because here we are in having one foot in this way of being that has been kind of limited, that's been kind of, we feel like cut off from our own divinity. We feel like we haven't been playing out our highest and best blueprint for abundance and prosperity. We felt like it's somehow been kept from us by some other force out there pulling the strings for us. That's not the case at all. And that is largely how we frame our lives if we are looking at it through the lens of victim mentality. So we have this foot in this one-dimensional awareness, which is in the kind of lower self-dimensional awareness of 3D. But On the other hand, we're collapsing that kind of gateway in between 4D. We're going right into 5D. Some of us have very strong glimpses or feelings of that unity consciousness. And it may feel like sometimes it's just overtaking you. Like you feel so open, so aligned, so like you are communicating with everyone through the heart space, through a sense of a feeling, very empathically, what someone else is going through, and holding empathy, holding understanding, holding mercy, forgiveness, kindness for people who are going through something that maybe you just came out of yourself, or maybe you're going through it too. We are opting into more of this unity consciousness, meaning being very tapped into the collective and what's going on for everyone, and holding space for the collective to evolve into their highest, for everyone as part of the collective, to evolve into their highest and best expression of who they are. We're holding space for that energetically more and more. Some of us are doing this on a very aware and conscious level. That is certainly the frequency that I am trying to hold, as I recognize myself as you are meant to recognize yourself as a frequency holder. I'm holding the frequency for myself as I wish to be, as I wish to create my desired intentions in this reality. I need to hold a frequency for what that is and constantly redirect anytime I get pulled out of that frequency. And in 3D, we get pulled out of it a lot. But moving into 5D means that we're getting better and better at collapsing that kind of 4D bridge or gateway into this higher elevated unity consciousness way of being. And we're learning directly how to keep opting in to the 5D way of being, to keep redirecting our energy and our frequency that we can hold that higher vibration for ourselves and for the entire planet and every being on it. This is what we're moving towards. And like I said, some of us are conscious of this. Some of us are feeling like, there's this wave of energy, and some of us are in front of it. And we feel like if we're not paying attention, this wave of energy can kind of push us from behind and give us an uncomfortable nudge forward. But some of us are right in the crest of that wave, and we are pushing the evolution of humanity forward by the frequency that we're holding, by doing the great work of looking at where we are holding limiting possibilities from ways of being, from just how we're thinking, how we're feeling, and how we're showing up and behaving in our everyday lives. When those of us who are in the crest of that wave are operating in our lives with such a great level of awareness and helping others, assisting others by just holding a high frequency, not by trying to coach people, not by constantly telling people that they're living the wrong way. No, it's about holding that frequency of the higher light vibration that we are helping to lead the collective forward. We're remembering this now. And the more we do this, those of us who are at the crest of that wave leading the evolution of humanity forward, we are the ones who are remembering that we have to keep redirecting our energy back to the divine, God's eye view of how we look at the lens of our entire life, how we frame our entire way of being. We have to keep going back to that perspective. We have to keep reminding ourselves that that false self way of being, it's not real. It's an illusion. If we want to keep leading that crest, that wave of human evolution towards, a higher vibration, planetary frequency, we have to understand we are powerful creators of our reality. We are frequency holders. And the more we get good at, the more we are well practiced in leading this way of being by constantly redirecting our frequency to what feels good, to what feels right, to what feels aligned, to what feels like it's in communion with our divine self perspective, we are helping the whole planet out. And those of you who are still feeling that victim mentality, it's going to look like, okay, you overthink everything, or you imagine worst case scenarios as outcomes all the time. Making things harder than they need to be, not realizing that you are a powerful creator, that you are the master of your reality if you choose that is so, not believing that your own extremely active and creative imagination is designing your destiny by doing all the above that I just mentioned. Opting into that victim mentality means you're overthinking, you're imagining worst case scenarios all the time, you're in constant worry, panic, and anxiety. I admit this is tough. For me, I had to do a lot to overcome this victim mentality myself. A lot of the clients that I work with, I've worked with them long and hard to help them overcome that victim mentality in their own lives. I'm fully aware that it is one of the biggest hurdles to raising our consciousness as humans, is rising above this victim mentality. However, the information that I keep getting over and over again is this is our imperative that is in front of us. This is the biggest hurdle. But once we get past this and we can learn ourselves out of, practice ourselves out of this victim mentality, things get a lot easier. We feel more in alignment. It's not that we are not ever in alignment with divinity. It's just that being in this victim mentality provides all of these distortions, these kind of mutated ways of looking at our lives through the lens of a victim mentality. It distorts everything. And it's these distortions that make us feel like, okay, I have to do an energy activation and get back in alignment. Or I better do my affirmations again so I can get back in alignment. We're thinking about it in a really antiquated way. We're thinking about it from a 3D level of consciousness. We're thinking about it from a lack mentality. This all has to do with that bubble of victim mentality. Those of us who are stuck in that victim mentality, those of you who might still be feeling like, I'm stuck, I can't move forward no matter what I do, I'm beyond help, that has to stop, okay? And it may feel like to you that there's some greater force out there, some greater consciousness that is outside of you in the universe that's pulling all the strings, it's holding all the cards. And you can kind of convince yourself when you have that level of mentality that life is happening to you instead of for you. That there aren't lessons being served up all the time where you can kind of glean that gift in the garbage, I call it, where we might go through a painful event or experience, but it's only to show us how much power we really do have, how much resilience we really do possess, how much we really do want to create something for ourselves that is greater than that, event or experience that we felt self-negating. So if this sounds familiar to you, I'm overthinking, I'm in constantly worry mode or panic mode, I feel like I'm in constant crisis management, I'm always in survival mode, I always have butterflies in my stomach, I always feel palpitations in my heart, I always feel like I'm carrying a heavy burden on my shoulders. Does this sound familiar? Well, that's your victim mentality framing your whole existence and how you identify with your whole way of being. It's through this filter of victim mentality. Maybe you used to think this way, and maybe you're getting yourself out of it. Or maybe you still think this way. Either way, I want to invite you to take a deep breath here, right now. Take a deep breath. And please keep listening, and please keep watching. Because I'm going to share with you a definition of, my definition, let's just say, of consciousness that I think might help you to do some reframing, to begin reframing how you are identifying yourself in your entire personal reality. And then I'm going to talk about using a tool that will help you to leave behind your victim mentality forever. And it's so ridiculously easy, you're going to think like, this isn't going to work. But I can tell you something, and I could pretty much guarantee something to you. The more you practice using this tool, the more you'll see, hey, this works. And the more you do that, what you're doing is kind of providing that validation or that evidence that the ego self, the smaller self, that 3D lower self mentality that's in victim mode, it's giving that part of you that evidence, quote unquote, that it needs to see that like, I can opt for this higher way of being and have a better quality of life by using something that just feels really, really simple. And all it takes is your attention, your focus, and your intent. That's it, and a little bit of imagination. So I define consciousness as directed or organized energy. So everything in the universe is energy. I think that if you're watching and you've come along with me on this ride this far, watching some of my videos, looking at other things on my channel, hopefully you'll agree with me. Everything in the universe is energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything just takes different forms of matter. It moves into different form based on how the energy is being organized and directed, okay? Consciousness is no different. It's energy that is directed and organized. Human consciousness, you could say, is a tool that could be defined, and human consciousness is definitely a tool. It's the greatest technology we possess, by the way, is human consciousness. You could define this as directed or organized energy of mind and body. Consciousness is more, human consciousness is more than just an action of mind. Because mind needs a container to direct its energy from, which is the brain, okay? And since the brain doesn't even act independently, it receives impulses, it receives feedback from the body via the central nervous system and the spinal cord. So the entire body, you could say, is the container for human consciousness. You may want to rewind that and listen to that again, because it's really important to have this sink in if you're able to use this tool I'm going to share with you in the most effective and positive way for the results that you're looking for. So with that explanation that I just shared, can you understand that consciousness must be embodied? It needs a container in order to direct the energy. And so the body, which is a function of mind and body together, is the container that directs our consciousness, okay? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you buy that, okay? Or it can accept even part of it. So with that explanation, can you understand that consciousness must be embodied? It has to be embodied. There has to be something, a container, a vessel that is directing the energy, organizing the energy. So who is directing the energy of your consciousness? This is one of the most debated points in exploring the frontiers of mind. Physicists, quantum physicists, scientists, people who do studies on all kinds of psychopathy, who are studying neuropathy, this is highly debatable. Everything's still, undecided. And a lot of people are still on the fence about what consciousness really is. It's one of the most debated points in exploring the frontiers of mind. But if you ask me, the only way to play with this concept and derive answers that are tangible and applicable in our everyday lives is to experiment. All of this discussion, all of this debate about consciousness, it's purely academic if we don't have a way to use this information to access elevated levels of consciousness, because that's what we're after, right? Great, I want to know what consciousness is, but why do you want to know what consciousness is? Because you want to know how to use it as a tool to better your plight, right? To better express yourself, to reach that higher ideal of you, yes? Otherwise, all this stuff is just academic. It doesn't matter, right? Just a bunch of people talking. But by the way, using this information, experimenting with consciousness, and which I'm going to give you a tool to help you do this with your consciousness, see who's really directing your consciousness, and to create you, or move yourself into a belief system, I should say, where you believe that you are the director of your consciousness. That's what this tool helps you to do. All of this is being used, this information that's coming in, what I'm sharing with you, to access elevated levels of consciousness. So by the way, all elevating your consciousness means is that you just get better and better at directing and organizing more of the energy of body and mind with attention, focus, and intent. That's all elevated consciousness means. All elevated consciousness means, I'm going to say it again, is that you just get better and better at directing and organizing more of the energy of body and mind with attention, focus, and intent. Now, in order to be worth my salt as a conscious creatrix, as an elevated consciousness coach, as a 5D visionary, as a self-proclaimed consciousness engineer, I make it my mission, and it really is my passion, to channel, to bring downloaded information, messages, signs, symbols that I can kind of decode. This channeling helps me kind of devise new tools and technologies that I ultimately share with you my followers, the people who are in my group programs, the people who receive elevated consciousness coaching sessions with me, to help the human collective really bridge the gap in consciousness between 3D and 5D ways of directing and organizing our energy. So if you are an overthinker, this technology, this tool I'm going to share with you is for you. If you worry a lot, you find yourself preoccupied with all of the things that can go wrong, and you create anxiety within yourself by doing this, this tool will help you. If you don't feel like you are the master creator of your experience, in fact, far from it, this tool will help you. So if you want to learn more about this tool and how to use it, stick around. So this is really our weekly energy check-in, because all the information I've been getting over the last really 4 days when I was preparing what I was going to talk about this Sunday has all been about my dreams, my lucid dreams, the information that comes in during downloads when I'm meditating. It's all been about victim mentality. And so I keep asking, okay, how do we have this tool to help us bridge this gap in consciousness, seeing exactly what we're doing to ourselves by staying in victim mentality, but at the same time, seeing what is possible for us when we opt out of this victim mentality. Because part of the sweet spot that we're in as humanity on this timeline of our evolution, where we're 1 foot in 3D, 1 foot in 5D, is being able to see the contrast and being able to sit right in the middle of the duality, of the polarity, and see, okay, it could be this way, or it could be that way. And really being able to sit with the choices and feel into both of the choices. This is a tool that helps you to do that, so that you can help, assist yourself in bridging that consciousness, seeing where one timeline will take you if you make certain choices that maybe align with a lower form of expressing yourself or moving forward in not so positive ways in your life. And you can see and feel that. Or on the same kind of trajectory of that energy, you can form a different timeline and see how a different choice, even just one subtle different choice, different decision, can completely change that. And when you feel into that alternate timeline, what you can do is collapse the one that is self-negating, that doesn't feel very good, that doesn't align with the highest and best expression of you. And this is an experiment in visualization. It's an experiment in just seeing what a powerful creator and user of your imagination you can be, based on untethering yourself from your imagination as it's connected to the 3D you. Because a lot of us are still using our imagination connected to the 3D version of ourselves, meaning we can only imagine what has been. So we're using that ego level of perspective because the ego only has information about what has been, about what is known. The ego can offer no information to you whatsoever about what could be. So just using this tool allows you to fully be in alignment with and communication with your divine aspect of self that only sees infinite possibility, that explores greater potential. Sounds exciting? It is. And it's so simple, you're going to think it's ridiculous that this doesn't work. If you keep practicing this, I guarantee you, different results will show up in your life. You will yield different possible outcomes that you have not predicted before, because you are using your imagination from the ego self, where you can only imagine things that have been, and you can imagine different variables on things that have been. But you can't really, from the ego perspective, imagine things that have not ever come to pass. But this tool allows you to do that. That's why I love teaching what I teach, because I love to give you guys really tangible and practical stuff to use so that you can see and feel, better yet, feel an entirely different way of being. And then have something that's so simple to use that you can do it every day to change outcomes, possibilities, and to move into your greater potential as a human on the rise in your evolutionary timeline. So here we go. Are you ready to learn this? Can you tell how excited I am to share this stuff? So this is going to be added to my Consciousness Mechanics book. I already have the second edition of it underway. I completed my Consciousness Mechanics of Ascension book, which is Activating and Applying the Technologies of 5D Consciousness to Our 3D Reality Now. It is a book and a companion program. The only way to grab your copy of the book is to be in the program. And you can still enroll in that up until October 3rd, 2019. If you like this tool, if you like what I'm talking about, you will absolutely love the Consciousness Mechanics program. So the information to sign up for that is here in the discussion or the comments section. If you are listening to this on my podcast, you can definitely scroll down in the description and find out more information about consciousness mechanics, or simply go to kathrynmissel.com/consciousness mechanics. Okay. So all you need to do is get yourself comfy. Don't worry, I will guide you through this entire thing. It takes a little bit longer for me to walk you through this at the outset so you can get used to how to do this for yourself. But once you practice this, and I recommend daily, not only will you see changes take place on a rather accelerated level for you in positive and tangible practical ways, but you'll feel different. You'll feel more open. You'll feel more aware. You'll feel, awake to greater potential that is possible for you. You will feel more connected to the rest of the collective, the human family. You will feel more connected and grounded in your body. You will feel the psychic centers in your brain light up a little bit more and upgrade your central nervous system. This particular tool is one of many, and I share more in the Consciousness Mechanics book and program, that upgrades our central nervous system. This constant victim mentality mode that we're in, where we are in worry or panic and anxiety all the time, what we're doing is we are constantly downgrading our central nervous system. This is why we have ascension sickness. This is why we have ascension symptoms. This is why we feel so disconnected from our potential. This is why we have aches and pains in the body. This is literally, being this victim mentality is dulling us to the fullness of life and everything that we feel in the body that would allow us to feel more in union, divine union with all the wonderful things in life. This will upgrade your central nervous system. So how cool is that? All right. So just be seated if you can. If you want to lay down, that's cool too. And just take a couple deep breaths. You may want to just close your eyes and connect with where you are in time and space, meaning as you take each inhale of breath and exhale of breath, you are aware more and more of the present moment, the expanded nature, the infinite nature of the present moment. And you drag out the present moment. This is so important because there is only the present. There is no past, there is no future, there is only the present. That's another talk for another day. Just keep connecting with the body so you're connecting with space as well as time. So as you keep taking these repetitions of inhale and exhale, become aware of your body in space, meaning feel the temperature of the room that you're in. Noticing any sounds that come into your awareness, any feelings in your periphery, energies that are around you. Becoming aware of your body in space and time. And as you are fully aware now of the space around you, with the next inhale, I want you to take your energy inward. Take it inside the body, into the heart space. Just breathing normally. And I want you to call back all threads of your consciousness. Any parts or pieces of you that are outside of you, where your attention, your focus, awareness is on another time, another place, where you have maybe fragmented parts of self, disassociated, calling all those parts back to you in wholeness, washed clean in God, Source, Creator's light. You could see a power wash of bright white diamond light coming from above the head, down through the body, going out through the soles of the feet, down through all the layers of the earth, and then connecting in with the central core, the molten core, the magnetic core of Mother Earth. And you can see this any way you wish. I happen to see it as a giant piece of black tourmaline that has a white flame coming up from it. Very powerful, very grounding, ringing through tons of ancient knowledge, wisdom, love, and abundance. All that which supports you here in your planetary home. And bringing this energy up, right up through the central column of the body, creating a central column of light that extends up from the molten core of Mother Earth, goes up through the central core of the body, the central chamber of the body, up and out of the crown, and up into the heavens, let's just say about 300 feet. If you imagine it going up further, this column of light, or maybe even 2 feet above the crown of your head, however you imagine this column, this tube of light, bright white diamond light, is perfect and right for you. And I want you to breathe in from both ends of this column of light simultaneously. So breathing in, imagine breathing in from both ends simultaneously, and then exhaling into the heart space. And letting this energy now fill up the entirety of your body chamber, the entirety of your physical being, all the way to your fingertips, the top of your head, down to the tips of the toes, filling you up. Complete awareness of your inner being, your inner world. Breathing into the heart space and breathing out from the heart space and filling up your body with this beautiful white diamond light. And as you take this next inhale in, as you exhale, imagine expanding your being out 360 degrees around your physical body, out further and faster to the fullest reaches, the farthest reaches of the universe. You can imagine this farthest reach of the universe as a cluster of billions of stars with a central vortex of spinning energy. That's a good way to imagine it here. But however you imagine the furthest reaches of the universe, go ahead and bring that image, that feeling in. It's more about the feeling of this connection to pure source being, pure source consciousness, the womb of cosmic consciousness, the mother creatrix energy, as I like to call it. It's more about the feeling rather than the visual you are holding. So whatever you connect with on a visual level that brings you this feeling of, I am connected to the one all, that is what we're after. And when you have that connection, I want you to imagine a cord of energy that connects from this central point, the central vortex, if you see it that way, the spinning vortex of energy, central point inside this cluster of stars. Imagine this cord coming into your solar plexus and feeling that connection. This is your source of personal will. This is your source of where you exert your free will choice and create an outcome in the physical. Everything that you create, and you are the creator of your reality, is done from free will choice. You are choosing any and all options at any given time. No one is choosing for you. No one is deciding for you. You are always and ever choosing and deciding your reality. Choice by choice, decision by decision. So one way to use this tool is to do this in the morning. You can be lying in bed, or you can be doing your morning meditation practice. You can be seated at the kitchen table before you start drinking your coffee. And imagine using this timeline, this continuum that goes between your solar plexus and that connection with the divine. And imagine it as the timeline of your day. From the time you are sitting here in the present, using this tool, being in this meditative space, to the end of your day, when you put your head on your pillow, turn out the lights and go to sleep. Imagine it as a column, a tube of energy that holds all possibilities for your day. Now, from this energy, imagine your perfect day. It could be maybe that you are anticipating heavy traffic, but imagine that traffic is smooth, that your drive to work or wherever you're headed this morning is smooth, easy, joyful even. You feel calm and relaxed. Maybe you're up for a promotion at work and you see that going well. Conversation with your supervisor, your boss, about how this is going to go, about the dollar amount that you decide on, that you negotiate for yourself, that is aligned with what makes you feel good with this promotion, makes you feel that you are being validated for all the great work that you do. You are being seen, noticed, honored, celebrated by this promotion, maybe this increase in pay, maybe you're up for a raise, maybe you are going to be doing a talk, maybe you are having a client session, several client sessions, maybe you have a difficult meeting with a difficult person, but you are imagining that negotiation or this talk, this transaction with this other person to be very smooth, very easy, very joyful. Imagine your perfect day through this column of energy that's connected to your solar plexus. And now let yourself do what you would maybe normally do, being someone who is a worrier, being someone who panics or worries about outcomes that throw a monkey wrench into your day. Maybe it's something that's happened before that you're kind of telling yourself it's inevitable, this is going to happen again. And I want you to imagine it like this column of energy is almost like a trunk of energy. And this worry that you have, this panic, this level of anxiety that you're created by worrying about an outcome that you don't desire, imagine it as something that is branching off from this column and creating a different timeline. Where it connects to is not so important, but you see it as branching off, a different column of energy. Let yourself go into the worry. Let yourself go into the panic. Let yourself devise a little scenario about what that could be. This sounds counterintuitive, but just stick with me and trust me. Let yourself go to where your mind would normally go. Oftentimes we create these scenarios of what you're creating in your visualization practice here, in your imagination. We often will let these scenarios take form, materialize in our physical being, in our physical reality, if we don't check into consciously what we think could happen. A lot of times we're playing a game of what I call mental whack-a-mole. And here in the US, we have this game called whack-a-mole, and it's where you take a rubber mallet, and it's a game, an electronic game, sometimes in arcades or it's at a carnival. And you have this rubber mallet, and this mole keeps popping up, and you have to whack it. Well, our ego does that. Our lower self-consciousness, our victim mentality is often like that too, where it pops up and we're like, I don't want to think about that, I don't want to think about that, and we suppress it. And it's like playing a game of mental whack-a-mole. We whack this thing down so we don't have to deal with it. But that's exactly what creates all these problems that do materialize in the physical, that do actually cause us to throw a monkey wrench in something that would otherwise be smooth and go well in our day. So just let yourself explore it for a second. Don't spend too long there. Think about how it could go wrong, and then think about the next best thing that, or I should say the next thing that happens after that. It's not the next best thing, but the next thing that would take place after this bad scenario, quote unquote, plays out. Now take that energy and imagine a different branch in this column that's right next to this other branch where you've imagined the undesirable scenario. And now think of this going perfectly. Think of the exact opposite thing happening than the undesirable scenario. Think of the most perfect, desirable scenario. If everything went right, if everything went smoothly, if everything went perfectly, what would that look like? Better yet, what would it feel like? And go a little bit further than you did in the undesirable scenario. Think about what would happen to make this thing really good, really perfect, really smooth. And then think about the next best thing that would happen. Maybe you're sharing this conversation with a friend about you won't believe what happened today, the most amazing thing. Think about that friend's reaction. Think of how it makes you feel to tell the story. Think of how it makes you feel to see the next best thing that occurs from the desirable scenario playing out. Take it a little bit further up the timeline. Make this timeline and this branch off the original column that we created here, that's the connection between your solar plexus and that divine connection to the all that is. Make this column of energy with your desirable scenario just go a little bit further. Branch out a little bit further than that undesirable scenario. And really feel that. The outcome here that you're looking for is to feel into the greater scenario playing out. The more you do this, the more you practice this, the more you normalize this way of being. The more you practice this, the more you upgrade your central nervous system to activate its level of consciousness to be in 5D. This is where you are activating your highest and best self as something that feels tangible, real, practical, and something that you could just step into as soon as you open your eyes. That's how real you want to make this. Keep going. Keep building. Allow yourself to be there. You can do this anytime with, let's just say, this original timeline that you plug into. It could be a day. I like to do this every morning. This is how I create my day. I plug into what I call Mother Creatrix energy, into the divine grid, the divine matrix, where all possibilities exist for my highest and best good and yours. And I plug into this energy and I use this column that I create as a timeline for my day. You could use it as a timeline for your week. You could use it as a timeline for your weekend. You could use it as a timeline for this next month. The further you go out until you get used to this practice, meaning if you want to use this for a month or a year out, I will say this, you may want to practice with a day first, just so you can get used to being in control of the frequency of this energy you're feeling. Because the span of a day is a smaller timeline, a smaller column of energy to work with, you may feel you have more control, more wiggle room with this frequency in being able to work with that and create free will choices in the smaller timeline of a day. And once you get used to practicing this, try playing with it as a week. Try playing with it as a month. Try playing with it as a year. Try playing with it as a decade. But you get to use this energy as a tool to bridge that gap in your consciousness where you feel like, well, I've only ever known this. How do I get to there? How do I get to that way of being? And what you're doing is you're upgrading your subconscious too, to look for ways to find out, well, how do we make this, play out in the physical reality? What would be the next steps? You're literally upgrading your subconscious energy. You're tapping into the frontier of your subconscious, which is about 95% of what creates your behaviors. The thoughts you're not checked into, the feelings you're not checked into, and what's kind of the driving force behind your life on a daily basis. You're upgrading that subconscious to 5D way of being. This is what this practice does. It's so powerful. It's so revolutionary, but so simple. So potent, but so easy to use. And what you want to do when you're satisfied with the outcome of what you created and you're feeling into that, you feel that expanse throughout all the pleasure centers in your body, let's just say. You're feeling your body light up. You feel maybe aches and pains moving out. Any heaviness or denseness in the body feels like it's moved out or it's cleared up. Any gray, kind of sluggish energy in the body that feels like it's moving, it's back in flow. You feel more connected to your physical being. That's the sweet spot you're looking for. And then you pull your energy back. You just simply imagine taking a deep breath in, pulling your energy back from the infinite and back into the heart space. And then take it down that column of energy and simply ground it. Imagine yourself going back into that magnetic core of the earth and saying, I am grounded, I am grounded, I am grounded. And then notice how, if you use this at the beginning of your day, how everything in your day changes. How the frequency that you hold, because you are a powerful frequency holder and master creator of your reality, the frequency that you hold, the vibration that you hold throughout your day, doesn't fluctuate as much as it used to, especially with more practice. And you find less and less of a need to go back to that 3D victim mentality way of being, where you're constantly in worry, where you're constantly in panic. Are things going to go wrong? What's going to go wrong today? What's going to get screwed up today? That anxiety that we create for ourselves from going into that space of imagining the worst case scenarios. This is a powerful tool. Use it with discernment. Use it with responsibility, meaning you must take responsibility for what you are feeling. If you allow that stuff that's, the mental whack-a-mole stuff that we're constantly trying to avoid or whack away, if we simply bring it up on a conscious level using a powerful tool like this, but then counter the energy right away using our free will, you will move into the awareness that you are a powerful creator of your reality, especially the more and more you practice this. Remember, moving into 5D awareness is not a passive process. It is a very active, participatory process. This is one of the ways you can be an active participant in your own active movement towards elevating your level of consciousness to align with 5D. This is so amazing that I got to share this with you. I'm so glad that I have been able to hold this space for you. As always, I'm holding divine love and light for you. I want to wish you all so much love and peace. Bye-bye.